Ever feel like you're just running on a financial treadmill,
Yeah.
working hard but not really getting ahead?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's surprisingly common. So many people feel that way, kind of overwhelmed.
Exactly. Overwhelmed by all the complicated advice out there. It's a lot.
It really is. Finance shouldn't feel like some secret code, right? It should be clear, actionable.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do today. We got some great material flagged by the learner, one of our listeners' excerpts from The Simple Path to Wealth.
Ah, yeah, J.L. Collins. Good stuff.
Right. So our mission, basically, is to pull out the really core, actionable stuff from this book. Give you a shortcut to understanding how to build wealth without, needing a PhD in finance.
And it's a great source for that. It covers the big things: saving, investing, debt,
Yeah.
how to handle market ups and downs.
And the writing style is, well, it's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Makes these big topics feel less intimidating.
Definitely. Very accessible. And you can tell they put real effort into making it solid.
Yeah, I noticed that. Like the cover designer, Carol Chu, sounds like she has some amazing adventures.
Yeah.
And then proofreaders like Dr. Kelly Paradis, an atomic physicist. Wow. And Rich Carey, who's really into financial independence.
And fact checkers like the Mad Fientist and Jeremy Jacobson from Go Curry Cracker. These are trusted names in that space.
And even getting feedback from readers like Kate Schadinger, a reading specialist, just to make sure it clicks for people who are new to this. That shows real care, I think.
It does. So, okay, the core ideas. What does this simple path actually boil down to?
Well, the big takeaway seems to be it doesn't have to be complicated.
Right. Sound investing is not complicated.
Yeah.
That's kind of the mantra. It's really just three basic things.
Okay, lay them on me.
Spend less than you earn. Obvious, maybe, but crucial.
Right.
Invest the difference, the surplus. And avoid debt like the plague.
Okay, spend less, invest the surplus, avoid debt. Sounds simple. Maybe too simple.
Well, the execution is where the challenge lies, right? Especially that first part. The book pushes for a high savings rate, like aiming for 50%.
50%? Wow. Okay, that's
Yeah.
ambitious for a lot of folks.
It is ambitious, no doubt. But the argument is the benefit is twofold. One, you just need less to live on, which is freeing in itself. And two, you have way more money to pour into investments. It speeds everything up, gets you to what he calls FU money much faster.
Yes, FU money. Love that phrase. It's not just about retirement way down the road, is it?
Not at all. It's about having options now. Freedom, leverage.
Yeah, he tells that story about asking for, 4 months off unpaid?
Yeah,
Early in his career.
exactly. Which was kind of crazy back then. But having even just that initial $5,000 buffer, his first bit of FU money, gave him the confidence to ask.
Right.
And he got it.
That's powerful. It shows that cushion gives you negotiating power, real choices.
It really does. It's about being able to walk away from things that aren't right for you.
Yeah.
Like his wife quitting her job later on because they had that financial security.
Right. It wasn't about buying more stuff. It was about buying back their time. Control.
Precisely. So, okay, you're saving aggressively. Where does that surplus go?
Into the stock market, according to the book. That's the main engine for building wealth.
Yeah, but with a specific mindset. Consistency is key. Keep investing month after month, year after year. And this is the hard part for many. Ignore the drops.
Ignore the drops. Easier said than done when the market's tanking.
Oh, totally. The emotional pull to sell is huge, but the book insists you got to resist that. In fact, it says you should see drops as opportunities. Buy more when things are on sale.
Right, like a sale on future wealth.
Yeah.
Okay. But trying to predict those drops, to get out before they happen.
Forget it. Market timing. It's a losing game. The book is very clear on that. Focus on the long term, the overall upward trend. It always goes up eventually.
Okay, so high savings, consistent investing in stocks, and the third pillar was avoiding debt. This seems obvious, but clearly it's a massive issue.
Huge. Debt is like an anchor dragging you down. It eats your income, limits your freedom, causes tons of stress.
Yeah, the book points out just how much debt people carry: mortgages, student loans, credit cards.
Yeah.
It's become normal, almost.
It's wild, and it keeps you paying for the past instead of investing for the future. It's a trap.
But is all debt bad in the book's view? Or are there nuances?
There are nuances, yeah. The general rule of thumb is if the interest rate is over, say, 5%, you need to attack that debt aggressively. Get rid of it ASAP.
Okay, above 5%, prioritize paying it off.
Right. Then it looks at things often called good debt, like business loans can be useful, sure, but risky.
And mortgages.
Calls them an expensive indulgence, not necessarily a great investment when you factor in all the costs and what else you could do with that money.
Interesting take. And student loans get special attention, too.
Oh, yeah. Because college costs have just exploded. He contrasts his own experience paying for college with summer jobs versus his daughter's situation decades later.
It's a totally different world.
Totally. And the book argues easy access to student loans actually fueled that tuition inflation. Plus, that debt is incredibly sticky, very hard to get rid of. Even in bankruptcy, it can follow you forever.
Yikes. Okay, so the message on debt is pretty strong. Avoid it, kill it if you have it, especially the high-interest kind. Got it. Let's circle back to investing. You said stock market, but not just any stocks, right? The book is specific.
Very specific. It strongly advises against trying to pick individual stocks or betting on actively managed mutual funds.
I not. Isn't that what the experts on TV do?
Well, the book argues pretty convincingly that most experts can't consistently beat the market anyway, especially after you factor in their fees.
The fees.
Exactly. Active funds have managers to pay, research teams. All that costs money, and those costs eat into your returns year after year. It adds up.
So what's the alternative?
Simplicity itself. Index funds. Specifically, the book highlights Vanguard's Total Stock Market Index Fund, VTSAX.
VTSA. So what is that exactly?
Think of it like buying a tiny slice of the entire U.S. stock market. Thousands of companies, big and small. Instant diversification. You're basically betting on the overall growth of the American economy.
Owning a piece of everything. I like the sound of that. And it's low cost because there's no genius manager trying to pick winners.
Precisely. No expensive managers needed. The research shows, overwhelmingly, that these low-cost index funds tend to outperform the majority of actively managed funds in the long run. Plus, you avoid the temptation to constantly jump between funds or try to time the market yourself, which often leads to worse results.
It seems counterintuitive, like you should be able to pick winners. But the evidence?
The evidence is pretty clear.
Yeah.
Most people, even professionals, can't do it reliably. And fund companies, they're good at marketing the winners and quietly burying the losers. Stick with the index. Focus on the beer, not the foam, as the book says.
The beer, not the foam. Meaning the actual businesses, not the daily market noise.
Exactly. The underlying value creation, not the short-term fluctuations.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about when the foam gets really scary? Like a market crash, the big ugly event?
Yeah, they happen. They will happen again. It's part of the deal. But the book puts it in perspective.
How so?
Well, looking back historically, the Great Depression was kind of its own unique beast, a deflationary spiral. Most other crashes, while scary, haven't permanently derailed investors who just held on.
Held on, and maybe even kept investing.
Ideally, yes. The market always recovers. Always. And long term, it always goes up. Always. Think about the Dow over the last century. Through wars, recessions, crises, the overall trend is relentlessly upward.
So staying the course is critical. Don't panic, sell.
Absolutely crucial. Panicking is usually the worst thing you can do. And actually, if a crash happens early in your investing life, the book frames it as a gift.
A gift? How?
Because you get to buy stocks, those slices of companies, at a massive discount. It's like a limited time sale. It can accelerate your wealth building if you keep buying.
That's a great way to reframe it. It also touches on hyperinflation, right? The opposite problem.
Briefly, yeah. That's when money rapidly loses its value. Less common in the U.S. recently, but devastating when it happens. The good news is, stocks representing real assets, real businesses, tend to hold their value reasonably well against low or moderate inflation.
Okay, so we have the principles. Save a lot, avoid debt, invest consistently in low-cost index funds, stay the course through market drops. How do you actually, build a portfolio with this?
Well, first, think about where you are in life. Are you mostly focused on accumulating wealth, like when you're younger and working, or are you closer to or in retirement needing to preserve wealth?
Accumulation versus preservation. Makes sense.
And remember, there's no such thing as perfectly safe investing. It's all about trade-offs. Stocks are volatile day to day, but cash gets eaten by inflation over time. There's always some risk.
Right. Safety's an illusion, kind of.
A bit, yeah. Which is why that FU money cushion is so important no matter your stage. It gives you options, flexibility.
And the actual investments.
Yeah.
Still keeping it simple.
Super simple. The core tools are basically VTSAX, or similar total U.S. stock market index fund.
Okay.
Maybe some VBTLX, Vanguard's total bond market index fund. Bonds can sometimes act as a shock absorber when stocks fall, especially during deflation. They can smooth out the ride a bit.
Stock fund, bond fund,
Yeah,
anything else?
And just a regular money market or high-yield savings account for your emergency fund and very short-term cash needs. That's pretty much it.
Wow. Stocks, bonds, cash. That's it.
That's the core. The allocation, how much you put in stocks versus bonds, that depends on you, your age, when you need the money, how comfortable you are with risk.
So more risk tolerance, maybe younger, you'd have more in stocks.
Generally, yes. The longer time horizon, you can ride out the bumps, so maybe 80%, 90%, even 100% stocks early on.
Yeah.
As you get closer to needing the money, you might shift more towards bonds for stability.
And for people who want it really simple.
Target retirement funds, or TRFs. One fund does it all. It holds stocks and bonds and automatically gets more conservative, shifts towards bonds as you approach your target retirement year. Set it and forget it, basically.
Okay, that sounds appealing. What if my 401k at work doesn't have Vanguard funds?
It doesn't matter as much as you might think. Look for the equivalents. Find the lowest cost total stock market index fund and total bond market index fund available in your plan, whoever offers them. The principle of broad diversification and low cost is the key.
Right, the indexing strategy.
Mm.
The book does mention why Vanguard is often cheaper, though. Something about how it's owned.
Yeah, that's pretty unique. Vanguard is essentially owned by its own funds, which means it's owned by the people invested in those funds, like you. So their incentive is to keep costs low for the investors.
Unlike, say, Fidelity or T. Rowe Price, which are for-profit companies with outside shareholders.
Exactly. They have to serve those shareholders, too. But the book's point is, even if Vanguard isn't in your 401k, don't skip the 401k. The tax advantages, and especially any employer match, are too good to pass up.
Okay, let's talk about those tax advantages. The book stresses using accounts like 401ks and IRAs, right?
Absolutely. Max them out if you can. You've got your traditional 401ks and IRAs where money goes in pre-tax, grows tax deferred, and you pay taxes on withdrawal.
Okay.
Then you have Roth 401ks and Roth IRAs. Money goes in after tax, but then it grows tax-free, and qualified withdrawals in retirement are completely tax-free.
Tax-free withdrawals sound pretty good.
They can be fantastic, especially if you expect to be in a higher tax bracket in retirement. The book also mentions considering Roth conversions, moving money from traditional to Roth accounts, especially in years your income, and thus your tax rate, might be lower. Before those, required minimum distributions, RMDs, kick in later.
RMDs, right, when the government forces you to take money out.
Exactly. So doing conversions earlier can sometimes save you taxes down the road.
And there was one other account mentioned, HSAs, health savings account.
Yes. HSAs are amazing. If you're eligible, meaning you have a high deductible health plan, they are incredible tools.
Why so good?
Triple tax advantage, potentially. Money goes in pre-tax, just like a traditional 401k. It grows tax-free like a Roth. And if you withdraw it for qualified medical expenses, the withdrawals are also tax-free.
Wow, pre-tax in, tax-free growth, tax-free out for medical. That's powerful.
It really is. And unlike FSAs, the money doesn't disappear at the end of the year. It rolls over, you can invest it. It's like a bonus retirement account specifically for healthcare costs, but potentially usable for anything in retirement, just taxed like a traditional IRA then.
Okay, so HSAs are definitely worth looking into if you have that high deductible plan. To make this more concrete, the book uses a case study, right, based on listener questions.
Yeah, someone starting out, they had a small inheritance of 403b, like a 401k for nonprofits with a match, saving a decent amount and asking where to put the money. VTSAX, how to contribute.
So how does this simple path apply there?
Keep it simple. Prioritize that low-cost total stock market fund, like VTSAX, across all the accounts, the inheritance money in a taxable account or maybe IRA, the 403b, potentially a Roth IRA too.
And the employer match.
Definitely grab the full match in the 403b. That's free money. Always take it. Then think about Roth versus traditional contributions based on your current and expected future tax situation.
What about the inheritance? Invest it all at once or spread it out? Dollar cost averaging.
The book generally favors lump sum investing if you have the money. Statistically, markets tend to go up more often than down, so getting the money in sooner often works out better.
But psychologically?
Yeah, psychologically, dollar cost averaging, investing a bit each week or month can feel safer, less scary. So if that helps you actually get the money invested without freaking out, it's an okay approach. Better than sitting on the sidelines in cash.
Right, getting started is key. Now, we've talked a lot about doing this yourself. What's the book's take on financial advisors?
It's pretty skeptical, frankly.
Skeptical how?
It highlights the potential conflict of interest. Many advisors get paid more for selling complex, high-fee products, not necessarily for giving the simplest, best advice for you.
Ah, commissions and fees again.
Right. Even those seemingly small 1% or 2% fees charged on your total assets every year, they compound over time and take a huge bite out of your returns. A massive bite.
So the message is, you can probably do this yourself.
Yes. Empowering yourself, learning the basics like we're discussing, can save you a ton of money and potentially lead to better results because you care more about your money than anyone else does.
And to help with that self-directed path, it tackles some common myths.
It does. Like we just discussed, dollar cost averaging isn't necessarily superior to lump sum. Market timing doesn't work reliably. And this idea that you can become some stock-picking guru.
Mostly an illusion.
Mostly, yeah. The book kind of contrasts the entertainment value of market predictions with their actual reliability. Stick to the plan. Focus on what you can control. Your savings rate, your investment choices, index funds, keeping costs low. Ignore the noise.
Ignore the noise.
Yeah.
And avoid getting scammed. There's a section on that too.
Oh, yeah, a really important one. Because everybody can be conned. Smart people get conned all the time.
So how do you avoid it?
Recognize you are vulnerable. Be extra careful in areas where you think you're an expert. That's often where cons target you. Remember, con artists don't look like criminals. They look trustworthy. And most of what they say will actually be true. The lie is usually small and hidden.
That's sobering. Be vigilant.
Definitely. Okay, looking long-term now. Retirement. The book talks about the 4% rule. What's that about?
It comes from studies, like the Trinity study. The basic idea is if you withdraw about 4% of your initial retirement portfolio value each year, adjusted for inflation, there's a very high chance your money will last for 30 years or more.
So it's a guideline for how much you can safely spend each year in retirement.
Kind of, yeah. But the book emphasizes it's not a rigid rule. You need to be flexible. Your spending might change. You might have other income sources like pensions or part-time work.
Right, it's a starting point, not a hard and fast law. And the book mentions relying only on dividends and interest might be too restrictive. You probably need to sell some shares over time, too.
Makes sense. What about Social Security? Does the book factor that in?
It gives a quick history, explains how it works, and acknowledges the demographic shifts, fewer workers supporting more retirees that are causing funding concerns down the road.
So should we count on it being there?
The book discusses the factors in deciding when to claim your health, your need for the money, your spouse's situation, your belief in the system's future, while the author thinks it probably won't collapse entirely for current retirees or those near retirement.
Liz.
His advice is, plan your finances as if Social Security won't be there. Build your own independence first. If Social Security pays out, great, it's a bonus. But don't make it the foundation of your plan.
Foster self-reliance. That fits the overall theme. So, wrapping up, the book makes it clear the payoff isn't just about a big bank balance.
Not at all. That's almost secondary. The real return is freedom, security, options, the ability to design your life, to spend your time how you want with who you want.
Yeah, that anecdote at the end about the charity auction, feeling the joy of being able to give generously, that really hits home.
It does. It shows that wealth can be a tool for profound satisfaction beyond just personal consumption.
Okay, so for the learner, for you listening, what are the absolute key takeaways from this deep dive into the simple path to wealth?
I'd say, number one, it really can be simple. Don't get intimidated.
Right.
Focus on those basics. Spend less than you earn, maybe a lot less. Invest that surplus consistently. Use low-cost, broad index funds like VTSAX.
And avoid debt.
And avoid debt, absolutely. Think long-term. Market crashes will happen. Just ride them out, maybe even buy more. Stay the course.
And what's a good first step, something you can do, like today or tomorrow?
Just start somewhere. Maybe calculate your savings rate, honestly. See what percentage you're actually saving.
Okay, figure out the starting point.
Or log into your 401k or IRA and see what funds you're actually invested in. Are they low-cost index funds? If not, can you switch?
Look under the hood.
Exactly. Learn a bit about Roth versus traditional accounts. Maybe bump up your contribution by 1%. Small steps build momentum.
Small steps, big results over time. Okay, so here's a final thought for you, the learner, to chew on. We talked about FU money. What would having that truly mean for your life? Not just paying bills, but what could it unlock? Could it be the freedom to finally pursue that thing you always wanted to do?
Or maybe change careers. Or just breathe easier. Spend more time with family.
Right. Maybe this whole discussion is a chance to really look at your relationship with money. Is it serving the life you want? Or controlling it?
Definitely something to think about. And hey, this deep dive is just scratching the surface. If this sparked your interest, grab the book. Dig deeper into the parts that resonated. Yeah,
and check out those websites mentioned too. Frugal Paradise, Rich on Money, Mad Fientist, Go Curry Cracker. Lots more info out there if you want to keep exploring.